Yo, Seattle is dying. Como news report special presentation. So, errata. The name of the article, the news presentation special report, it's not Cairo. I thought it was Cairo, and so I redact that. What happened was I received the link from my lovely co-host, and she was like, yo, check this out. This is crazy as fuck. And I was like, holy fucking shit. And I started to watch it and was involved in some projects. And so preoccupied with some projects. So I was only able to see some minutes into it and just filed it away. And when I first glanced at it in the list of videos under it, there was apparently some commentary by Cairo News in Seattle. So in my mind at the time, I combined the two, conflated the two, and I, for some reason, thought that it was a Cairo presentation. It is a Como News presentation, not Cairo. For those who don't know, Cairo and Como, K-O-M-O, and K-I-R-O, those are two news stations in the Pacific Northwest in Seattle. So we need to talk, y'all. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of C4CW Casting 495 Celebrities Worldwide. Yo, this Seattle is dying expose special news presentation is fucking mind blowing. We oh my God, we have to dial it back. Like, this shit has to be dialed back. If you have not seen Seattle is Dying, the presentation by Como News, yo, that shit will, I mean, man, it, oh my God. So, for those of you who are familiar with the Mandela effect, and by the way, if you're a fan of this show, if you support this show, if you appreciate this show, we 495, we appreciate you. This is a very fucking serious topic. This is a grave and dire issue. I'm not an alarmist. That shit is beyond alarming. Like, okay, so let me put it into perspective for you. I've blogged forever about hip-hop, rap, commentary, political analysis, news, you name it. And I often reference the Pacific Northwest because after I came to the East and got involved in podcasting, wrote a book, science fiction book, DJ with an Uzi, which I'm adapting into a screenplay for independent film making purposes. Launched a clothing line, put out albums, have helped my friend in my spare time, to be able to help her promote her documentary about World War, Japan and America and world history. Yo, coming from the Pacific Northwest with a background in media, I also work with big data. And from a scholarly background and having worked with logistics, the issue of Seattle is dying is the magnitude of it, the sheer breadth and depth of it all is tremendous in scope. It is enormous in scope. We need to have a conversation about this, man. We can't let this shit happen to Seattle, man. It's already happened, but we can't let it continue to happen in the trajectory in which it is currently moving. Yo, if you're familiar with the Mandela effect, I attest to you and the fact that what I have seen is it's a parallel universe of Seattle. That is not the Seattle that I know, man. That shit, okay, so I've kept an eye on Seattle ever since I came out here to the East. I've peered through Google and satellites and images and looking at imagery and images and information and informatics and just data sets, chunks, clusters of data points. Like, man, I've read blogs and feeds and reports and journals. And I've stayed abreast of publications because, man, I'm from out there in the Pacific Northwest, not Seattle, but nearby. And I used to spend time in Seattle as a kid and a young adult. In fact, I became a defense contractor. I became a U.S. certified government defense contractor out there just to the northeast of Seattle before I came out here. I started my studies in Bellevue, Washington State. And so I had been working on IT projects over there and then was introduced to an organization that helped me fast track becoming a government defense contractor. And that took place in Bellevue, Washington. So the point is that East King County, Redmond, Kirkland, Bellevue, Bothell, that area, that green belt that I know, and from everything that I have seen, that I have tracked and that I have stayed up on, top of, it's not funny. I'm saying this hysterically in that what I have just seen is a parallel universe of reality. The Seattle that I'm seeing now, that has just been shown to me, has just been presented to me. I knew about Tent City. I knew about some of these things, but these other things, these other things that I have viewed, you have to consider for a moment. Consider Hugh Everett 3. Hugh Everett 3, he stumbled upon multiple parallel universes. When I was in my degree program for mathematics, science and mathematics, I learned of Hugh Everett 3. I had heard of him and didn't know much about him other than some very basic information. Then I found out more about Hugh Everett 3 and what it was that he discovered, what he unearthed, what he knew in his time. Hugh Everett 3 was a mathematician and scientist. He worked for the U.S. intelligence community on highly classified programs. He discovered the existence of parallel universes. The ancients have known about parallel universes. He discovered them mathematically. He found through math that parallel universes exist. And when he discovered parallel universes, it fucked him up. He was conflicted because he knew that they were true and that it was true that they exist. And so the fact is that when you know that parallel universes exist, when you know that there are other universes and that they overlap, what you also find out is that time is nonlinear. So what people believe on the average to be one universe, one unary universe, one single universe in a certain trajectory, in a certain flow, in a certain stream, what they don't realize is that it's not really one universe. That universe that they observe, that they sense, that they believe to be the universe is actually multiple overlapping universes. So what one person observes and believes to be the one universe, another person observes the same universe and sees something completely different. Yes, people can share information and say, hey, so in terms of 9/11, at the Pentagon, there was the plane that crashed. And then someone else is like, yo, I was there and I'm a farmer, or whatever, and I didn't see any crash. Like, I didn't see anything. Sure, people share information and they're like, but I was there and I saw planes crash. And then two other people are like, well, we were both there and we didn't see any planes crash. So, and they're all competent, rational human beings. So there are multiple overlapping universes. That is the multiverse. Hugh Everett 3 figured it out. And so what's really even more interesting is that when you look at quantum entanglement and particles, subparticles, particles, just particles in general, and how photons behave, and when you look at the double slit experiment, how seemingly one reality will actually split into two alternate, totally different, well, not necessarily totally, but they could be totally different. They are different. They're separate realities. So they may have similarity. They may share, some similarities. There may be some similarities. That is, there can be parallels, but they're separate realities. It's not but one reality. It's multiple. And so there was a man. He was an official, and there's an area in the town where he lived that is named after him. There was information of a classified nature that was found at the University of Washington in a library repository. So in the library at the University of Washington, Seattle, Washington, this is the University of Washington in Seattle, Washington. There was a CIA file that was classified that somehow materialized in this repository. Apparently no one knew it was there. It just was there. Highly classified information. It's classified information. And it was just found in this library. So when you look at the different data points and you see how they string together and how they relate to each other and how in some way there's contrast and difference, and in other ways there are parallels and mirror imagery, you can see the mirror image parallel nature of various data points. Seattle that I'm seeing in the Como news, you're probably like, wait, hold on. Why are you talking about this file at the University of Washington that was found at this university, and there was it was a CIA file that was classified that apparently no one knew it was there until it was discovered? Well, because it has to do with Hugh Everett 3. Hugh Everett 3. Hugh Everett 3. How many Everetts are there? How many Washingtons are there? Washington to Washington, mirror image, supersymmetry, Everett to Everett data points. So, Jackson, Senator. So, when you look at the different Everetts that exist, when you look at the different Washingtons that exist, when you look at Seattle, there isn't just one Seattle, man. I know that sounds fucking insane. I know that sounds outrageous, and I know that sounds fucking crazy as fuck. But yo, check this out. If you study quantum entanglement, if you study hyperphysics, if you study the same field that Hugh Everett 3 studied, you will see and learn and discover that time is non-linear. What appears to be linear time is not linear. And that space-time, just like Bob Lazar revealed, space-time is malleable. It's a fabric, and it is malleable. You see, he reveals, Bob Lazar, there are two forms of gravity. Gravity A and gravity B. Why the fuck weren't we taught this in school? Because it was classified until Bob Lazar revealed the truth about space-time. There isn't just one fucking form of gravity. There are two forms of gravity. Did you ever, man, think, like, when you were in high school science, like, that shit just doesn't add up? You're like, we're being taught this shit. Okay, also, the speed light barrier, 186,000 miles per second, that's not real either. That is relative to the observer. The speed of light is not a barrier, and it is not a constant. There are superluminal, there are particles that can travel faster than the speed of light. The individual, the person who mentored me in mathematics, who has a PhD in mathematics, who's one of the world's foremost probabilists. He's my former roommate. He looks like Pierce Brosnan. He's married with children. I attended his graduation ceremony at the University of Washington in Seattle at Husky Stadium. And his father is a lawyer. And we were all present together at the, give me one moment here. So, he had a book back in Washington State that was called FTL, Faster Than Light. He even said back in the 1990s, he introduced me to the concept of faster than light travel. So FTL has been known for eons. But we were told, and Einstein conveyed that there is the speed of light barrier. Well, Einstein knew that it was bullshit. He knew that it wasn't fucking true. So just like the real world interstellar, my theory is this. The reason why he pretended as if the speed of light is 186,000 miles per second as a constant. In other words, it doesn't fucking change. The reason why he faked that shit is because in his mind, he believed that if humans knew the truth, that we would accelerate our programs and we would fucking destroy ourselves. That's what I believe. I believe that shit is true. Einstein knew that the universe was fucking stranger than fiction, and he knew that there's no such thing as the speed of light barrier. He didn't understand all of it, but he knew a good portion of it beyond what he had revealed. And Michio Kaku, Professor Michio Kaku, he even makes a statement that if you listen to it very carefully, he says, if you observe it and listen closely in the way that I did, he says something to the effect of, there are things that physicists know that trouble the minds of physicists, and that it's information that physicists don't talk about openly, because the nature of it all, no pun intended, the gravity and the magnitude of it all is just so mind-blowing and so alarming and so disturbing that it causes one to question fundamental reality. It's not some shit that you would want to have a conversation with the young child about, who is, like in high school, junior high school, elementary school. You would not want to explain these things to a child who's studying math or science, because it would fuck them up. And it would just, they wouldn't be able to function, probably, for the most part. And at least not in normal society. So when you learn what Hugh Everett 3 learned, when you figure out what Michio Kaku knows, when you put it together, you realize that what we believe to be space-time in a single universe sense context, it's not for real. It is, but it isn't. So Bob Lazar says there are two types of gravity. There's the basic gravity, and then there's a more complex gravity. And he goes into detail about what each type of gravity does. If you look at space-time as a fabric, different layers that are woven together, there are, and I believe this is true, and I say this, I always knew that there were two, and I blogged about it, and then it was confirmed. I too knew that there were two forms of gravity. And because the gravity field that we were supposedly searching for, and we didn't know that it exists, or we couldn't prove, rather, supposedly, that it exists or that it existed, I knew that was bullshit. I'm like, our government knows that how gravity works because we have anti-gravity machines, contrivances. We have anti-gravity technology. People who follow the disclosure community and information therein. I mean, we know we're not fucking stupid. So decades ago, like most folks who followed the same information, we knew when we were kids that the ancients used anti-gravity technology, zero-point energy. We knew this. So we knew that our government claiming, and academia, which ties into the government and deception, artifice, we knew as kids that the story about gravity being this kind of flimsy notion and like, oh, it's some unknown quantity, like, we don't know, like, we don't know what gravity is. Like, we've never, we believe that gravity exists because, like, we can see the effects of, like, gravity around us, but, like, we've never really been able to, like, measure it or, blah, 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 blah. We knew that was all bullshit because the pyramids were made with anti-gravity machines. We fucking knew that shit when we were kids. It's an anachronism. The technology that was used to create the pyramids and every pyramid society is beyond anything that we have in terms of our terrestrial government on the surface. Obviously, the real government knows how all this shit was made and put together and structured. Point is, beyond even a terrestrial government with links to advanced otherworldly intelligence, if you look at gravity and you understand what gravity really is, you'll know what Bob Lazar said is true, that there are two forms of gravity. Well, this is what I say to you on top of, in addition to, his perfect expert analysis. There are two forms of time. And gravity is time. So you're probably like, what are you talking about, Grove? What are you talking about? There are two types of time. There's like there's one time. Like, there's only one type of fucking time. No, man. No, there isn't. No. There are different types of time. Just like there are different types of gravity. You thought there was, well, those of you who did is what I'm saying. You thought there was one fucking form of gravity, right? I mean, that's what you were told in school. You're like, gravity, this is the variable for gravity or whatever. G, right? Okay, that represents gravity. You can plug in any value, with that variable, right? It's gravity, G. G is for gravity. Okay, well, as it turns out, there's another form of gravity that most folks had no clue existed. I'm saying there isn't just one time. There are two forms of time. One form of time is gravity. One form of time, there's another form of time, and it is gravity. Okay, so now look. You didn't know about, those of you who didn't, you didn't know that there was another type of gravity. So why would you think that there's another type of fucking time? I am saying that the other form of gravity is time. It is a form of time. It is in and of itself time. Wherever you have time, you have gravity. Wherever you have gravity, you have time. There's no such thing as no gravity. Even in 0-point gravity space field, in the field of 0-point gravity, you're going to have microgravity. It's just so minute that it's like a singularity. It's like a black hole. You can be in that field with 0-point gravity, and you can sit in that field for an eon, and you'll move on a micro scale, but not really, but it's there. It's just so minuscule, it's so minute, but it's there nonetheless. So what I'm saying is that there isn't really anywhere in the universe where there is no gravity. Because gravity is fucking time. Time is gravity. There is no such thing as anywhere in space-time where gravity does not exist on some scale, whether macro or micro, because time is gravity. Gravity is time. That's why wherever you go, at the Planck level, wherever you travel to the pin, prick, pin, dot, speck of everything that exists, gravity is present. Whether macro or macro scale or micro scale. Because gravity is time. Think of it this way. If that doesn't make sense yet, think of it this way. Where can you go in the universe or the multiverse where there isn't time? I'm not talking about gravity now. I'm talking about time. Where is there in existence where time doesn't exist? There's no such fucking thing. There is no such thing as somewhere in the multiverse where time itself does not exist. That doesn't even make any sense for there to be somewhere where time is non-existent. Right? Think about it. Time is everything, right? So you cannot fucking go somewhere where there is no time, right? You can't have time without gravity. You know why? Because gravity is time. It's just a different form of time.